Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Recon Officer. That's the guy you can see on screen right now, and as always I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first half of the video, and in the second half of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. What this character is going to be about is we are going to play as a stealth guerrilla character using a automatic Enclave plasma pistol. And yeah, what I wanted to do this time around is just basically take a look at how effectively you can use a non-suppressed weapon in stealth, like the automatic Enclave plasma pistol is. And for pretty much everyone who has played the game for a while, you probably know how this is going to go in and of itself. Like, you can definitely get away using stealth, non-stealth weaponry in a stealth playstyle. The thing is, it's different to using like a suppressed handmade, for example, where you stay hidden all the time. This playstyle basically involves you always getting in and out of stealth for the most part. Now, in situations like these here, where you can keep your distance to targets, it's actually pretty easy to stay hidden all of the time, but it definitely has its drawbacks once it comes to close quarter situations. When you're indoors, like West Tech or something, you will get detected all the time. However, due to the effect of Escape Artist, that's not a big problem. You just have to reallocate yourself a little bit, like we do on this situation here. Get back into crouching position, and pretty soon you should be back into being hidden. On this occasion, it actually takes quite a while, which is a little bit out of the ordinary, I would say. But there we go, and here the ghoul is. Took a full sprint here, but yeah. Anyways, what we're having on is a full set of covered scout armor. Simple reason is it's pretty much the best stealth armor you can get in terms of just standard armor. Like, it's debatable, but I would argue it is. And yeah, another thing I wanted to take a look at is the weapon in and of itself, because as you probably know, Enclave plasma weaponry is not something you can just get and then modify the way you want it to. It's very limited in modifications, because the only modification you can get is the prime capacitor, and everything else you pretty much have to either get as a drop or find as a modification box. And for example, the reflex sight we have on here, which is pretty crucial to a VATS build in my opinion, is something you just have to get as a fixed drop. Same with the aligned auto barrel that we do have here. And yeah, I bought this from a player vendor. It wasn't on Legendary, and I just modded it a little bit on a custom server. So now we have an aristocrats version with better VATS crits and less VATS costs. So a very good setup in terms of damage and VATS efficiency. And yeah, overall I really enjoyed the build. I'm digging it aesthetically a lot. It really has a cool aesthetic going on, just this recon thing. Now, one thing I'm not too keen on is the combination that, yeah, the covered scout armor is very much associated with the Enclave, and so is, for obvious reasons, the Enclave plasma pistol, while on the backpack we are rocking a Brotherhood backpack. But you know, like in Fallout 76, it's a little bit different than other Fallout games so far, whereas yeah, you're basically joining every single faction during the story, and I think you can get away, like, in your headcanon with combining different things like that, because even a Brotherhood character like this one is supposed to be can utilize Enclave equipment very easily. And still, overall, I think when it comes to the whole theme of the character, this character goes pretty well in terms of a Brotherhood character, just because it's this kind of, yeah, Recon Officer. And yeah, other than that, I mean, I think you get the point here. Even at long ranges, despite not having the best hit chances, we typically hit pretty well due to the fact that we can just get multiple shots in, and within 2 to 3 shots we typically hit our target. Now, on this occasion we are detected pretty fast by the Scorched Beast, but here you can see we are back into hidden again, and yeah, just wreak havoc on it. And I guess, yeah, with the next magazine once our AP has refreshed, which is pretty fast due to the fact that we have 3 pieces of armor with AP refresh, and yeah, we can get our AP back pretty fast, and as you can see, no trouble taking down the Scorch Beast on this occasion. Now, the big elephant in the room here is, with a weapon that clearly isn't designed for stealth purposes, why would you ever want to use it in stealth? And the single reason is that you're still getting a lot of extra damage out of using it that way, even if you are getting detected every now and then. Now, the major point here is definitely follow through, which gives you extra damage after you hit an enemy with a ranged attack from stealth, and this helps especially with bosses. Like the only thing you really have to take out, you really have to look out for, is starting off your fight while in stealth. Even if you're getting detected, then for the next 10 seconds you will do massively more damage than you would otherwise, and that's a big thing. And yeah, overall you can reduce the amount of damage you're getting by a big margin just by not being detected all of the time. And yeah, as you saw there, just do a jump when you're detected. Wherever you land, just immediately get back into crouching position, and yeah, you can just go in and out of stealth all of the time. Now, this is not the first video where I have done this kind of approach. I can remember fondly a situation where I did so with a what was it? Was it a Assaultron head? I think it was. By the way, here you saw another big thing of this build. I'm using orbital strike beacons, which you can use very effectively with this build. Obviously, enemies in the vicinity will be alerted to the fact that someone is there, but they are not exactly alerted to your position itself. So you can still surprise them and open up fights like this. We do have very high throw range just from the fact that I'm using the appropriate perk, which we will going to take a look at later. And on this occasion I'm a little bit disappointed we're not hitting something, but I'm really out for this Assaultron. But yeah, I guess we just have to take him out manually. So this is basically the approach you can take. You're obviously going to take damage by hitting yourself, but you can avoid that if you're a little smarter than I am on this occasion. And yeah, you can really wreak havoc on a camp or something that you find, and then just pick off the survivors, which is a nice thing. Now, I think this will come in very handy when we're fighting the ghouls down there. You have a massive range of explosion due to Grenadier on these orbital strike beacons, and I'm pretty certain that we can take out most of them with a single strike beacon, and we'll be left with like 2 or 3 enemies to fight. And in addition to that, yeah, orbital strike beacons, as you probably all know, are pretty powerful. They're a little bit of a problem at the moment due to the fact that, yeah, with the Thirst Zapper, without any modifications, you have unlimited access to them, which obviously got exploited pretty soon. So yeah, that was something like to be expected in my opinion. But yeah, let's just see what the orbital strike beacon does. I think my placement was a little bit stupid. I should have probably placed it somewhere else, but you saw there, everything went pretty fine. And yeah, there's another survivor. I'm pretty sure we only took out like 1 single ghoul or something, but doesn't matter too much here. Obviously wasn't too much of a problem to fight these guys. And now let's take a look at some of the super mutants. Now, one big thing here is that when it comes to this build, it requires a pretty specific kind of armor, like a pretty specific armor set, rather than a lot of situations what I'm going for is just a 1-star set of some armor. But on this occasion, yeah, you actually definitely want to have a full set of Chameleon, just because, yeah, with a non-stealth weapon you want to be as stealthy as possible, obviously. And in addition to that, you definitely need some AP refresh pieces in order to play with this playstyle. There's just no way around it, otherwise you're spending a lot of your time just waiting for AP to refresh, which is not fun, let's say it that way. And yeah, obviously being as stealthy as possible would mean that we're going for unyielding armor, but what I'm talking about is as stealthy as possible with like a non-bloody build. Obviously, this would go very well as a build when it comes to a bloody build, would suit the whole situation very well, but you know my stance, I'm not doing that. I'm just doing full health builds here for the absolute most part, and yeah, let's take them out. Now the one big advantage here is if you do something like this where you want to use a non-suppressed weapon in stealth, the main thing you want to do is have high DPS so you can take out your enemies very fast. That's like the breaking point for the build. You definitely want to take out enemies in under a second for the most part. And then it works, because otherwise, yeah, if you're taking like 5 shots with something like a lever action rifle or something, they will detect you before you can take them out, and that just doesn't make for a very satisfying build. And yeah, another interesting thing about this here is for every kind of gunslinger or guerrilla build that you're running, typically you want to have agility maxed out, obviously, but what I often find to be a little problematic is the fact that when it comes to perception, you obviously would like to have quite a lot of perception in order to have better VATS hit chance. Now, in all fairness, VATS hit chance and perception, the VATS hit chance you get from a single point of perception isn't crazy. It's something like 2% extra VATS hit chance or something. But so if you're struggling to get 1 or 2 more perception points, don't bother. It's not going to make or break your build. But if you're going for like something like 6 perception or 20 perception, you will definitely notice a difference. And on this occasion, yeah, I have like 13 perception or something, and yeah, then like 4 more from Eagle Eyes, something like that. And you definitely see it. Like, as you can see, we're basically not struggling with hitting enemies. And the problem with a gunslinger or guerrilla is that in perception, there's not a whole lot of good perks for you. Obviously, there's Tank Killer and then there's Concentrated Fire, but for the most part, that's basically it. Now, you can obviously take stuff like situational stuff like awareness or something like that, but those ultimately don't give you a whole lot of benefit. So I myself find myself often just using some perks just as a filler in order to justify having higher perception. But on this occasion, due to the fact that we are using explosives a lot, there's like 5 points of investment that are well spent, in my opinion. Now, this was probably a little bit stupid. I guess the death blow is too far away, but anyways. Wasn't nearly dead by the time we hit it. And yeah. In addition to that, the only perk we have in perception that's really just filler, in my opinion, is Night Eyes, which is this night vision effect. It's more of a filter. I always liked the idea but disliked the execution of the perk, but it felt rather fitting on this occasion just because the Mountain Scout goggles we do have, they certainly do look like night vision scopes, goggles, and yeah, it felt pretty appropriate for this kind of character to have something like night vision on, and it's not completely wasted, so I decided to use that perk. And the situation like these here, it's where the character really shines, like open areas, medium distance to enemies, and evenly spread out enemies. That's exactly what you want to have with this character. That's where it shines, because you can effectively stay hidden and still effectively hit enemies. Now this one here is just obscured by a lot of debris, but yeah, still. And yeah, that's where the character really shines. You can stay hidden very effectively. And for the front yard, I think we will take out some of the guys like this, but then I will just try and see how well it goes if we're just throwing a bunch of orbital strike beacons here. Now, they are a little expensive to craft, but for a high level character, I guess it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Yeah, it's like a nuke going off. It's really crazy. Like, I really love how ridiculous the screen looks. Oh well. That was a surprise. It's been a while since I was surprised like that by a suicider. But the good thing about this build is even if we are getting detected, we do have the man-stopping power in order to really handle most situations. And other than that, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of enemies left here. I probably just should have approached the situation a little bit differently. And yeah, that is kind of it, I guess. Like, there shouldn't be a whole lot left. Maybe the turret is left or something, but other than that, we are done in my opinion. And yeah, that means we're now going to take another look at our character. This time around we actually have some daylight, and once that's done, we're going to take a look at our perks, mutations, equipment, and everything else. Now, the all black everything color scheme here is really nice with some like turquoise touches from the coils on the weapon, but yeah, other than that, really digging the aesthetic. It's a really cool build. When it comes to the Pip-Boy, I didn't find anything that was working too well, so I went with the Deep Cave Hunter, which is just this dark blue. From a little bit of a distance it works better, but anyways. Yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay part of the video so far, and now we're going to take a look at the in-depth stuff, starting off with our mutations. So on this occasion we pretty much have the classics. We do have adrenal reaction, which isn't too necessary in my opinion, but it's a give or take. Just a little bit of extra damage in a lot of situations, because we will get damaged here and there, and so we find ourselves at 50% health during fights relatively often, so every now and then it is a little bit of a damage boost, but you can definitely live without it. Other than Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes, in my opinion, those two are pretty mandatory. Extra agility helps with sneaking, extra perception, yet again, a little bit more VATS hit chance, and especially the VATS crit damage. That coupled with better criticals and everything, and the effect on our weapon, it's pretty nice, makes for some pretty decent damage output. Then we do have Egghead here for extra intelligence. This is definitely not necessary, but I do find myself having a lot of intelligence on this character, and having it even higher felt like a nice thing, especially since endurance and strength are definitely our dump stats anyways, so we don't really need those, and the debuff doesn't affect us too much. And that means we're just left with Marsupial and Speed Demon. Those are pretty much mandatory on every single build, in my opinion, just because, yeah, once you are using the better jump height from Marsupial, it's really hard to play the game without it anymore, and same with Speed Demon. Reloading obviously is a big part, but the movement speed alone is a nice thing to have. And yeah, that being said, we go over to our equipment here, starting off with our weapon of the day, the Aristocrats Prime Automatic Enclave Plasma Pistol, which is quite a mouthful, but here it is. As I said, you can't modify it like it is, you have to find it that way. And yeah, the only thing I modded was using a prime capacitor. When it comes to plasma cartridges, I often find myself using prime stuff because I find it more effective to craft. But obviously, a standard capacitor, or some you can find in a box, severe beta wave tuner, I think it is called, will increase your critical damage a little bit. Those are all good options, and you can definitely live without priming the weapon. And yeah, as for the effects, I already told about that. We have Aristocrats, which gives us extra damage at, I think it's 29,000 caps plus, or 30,000 caps plus. We are at 34,000 or something, so we have full effect here, 50% extra damage, which is nice. Then we do have better VATS crits and less VATS costs. I think for a VATS character, it's kind of obvious why this is a good thing, especially less VATS cost. Now, the Enclave the Enclave weaponry is pretty heavy on AP consumption, especially considering you're not having the option to just use Alliance stuff, but you have to find it. So overall, less VATS cost is, in my opinion, one of the best effects you can have for these weapons, if you're going for a VATS build, obviously. And yeah, not a lot to say here. We started off the video with 200% condition. We do have Gunsmith on, so that helps, but yeah, as you see, it's not the most durable weapon. It's pretty much average in my opinion. So yeah, there's that. If you repair it to 200%, it definitely holds its own relatively well. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I can say about this bad boy here. Going over to our equipment, and we have a full set of Chameleon Scout armor, all shadowed, dense chest piece, muffled legs, ultralight arms. 3 pieces have action point refresh, and the rest is just relatively random. The only noteworthy thing here is we also have 1 piece that's Chameleon and harder to detect while sneaking. And yeah, that's basically it. I think, yeah, if you have something like this is a very good stealth set. I'm very happy with it. And as for the apparel stuff, we have the Boss Tactical Field backpack. It's called the skin. We do have the Chemist Backpack mod on here, but use whatever you like, in my opinion. Then we do have the Mountain Scout goggles. These go very well with the kind of character we were running. And this is one of the only compromises I made in this build. We are using a shielded marine wetsuit, which is not optimal. You want some Raider stuff if you're going to optimize it for extra agility and perception. So the shielded marine wetsuit doesn't really work well with the character. The only thing it does for us is giving us a little bit of extra perception, but it was just an aesthetical choice in my opinion. I was thinking about using Secret Service Under Armor or Operative Under Armor, but those didn't work as well as the Marine Wetsuit in my opinion, so yeah, ultimately that's what I went for. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I can say about the equipment, and that leaves us with only the perks. And as you can see here, we have one strength, which, yeah, I used one rank of strong back here, because yeah, it doesn't really matter. We have one perk point we have to spend for anything, and if you have only one perk point, it doesn't really matter. I went with strong back, and yeah, go for whatever you like in my opinion. More importantly, we do have perception, and the important ones here are tank killer and concentrated fire. Those are pretty much mandatory. You want to have those extra. The ability to target limbs in VATS is obviously very nice, and even though on an automatic weapon the increase in hit chance from concentrated fire isn't crazy, it still is noticeable. So if you have the perk points with to spend, on which on this occasion we do have, going higher even is useful on automatic weapons. It's just whenever you do something like a commando character or something, you're probably getting better returns from using ground pounder rather than increasing concentrated fire. But on this occasion, yeah, there's nothing else we need, so we definitely wanted to increase it. Tank killer for extra armor penetration, which is nice. Then we do have Grenadier and Fire in the Hole at rank 3. Grenadier, pretty self-explanatory here, using the orbital strike beacons. Having more range on those explosions is obviously beneficial. I mean, it can mean that you're damaging yourself even more, but we can survive it usually. Just make sure you are at full health when you're using one, and the only drawback is that you possibly have to take a stim pack. And yeah, then we do Fire in the Hole at rank 3. Usually, whenever I use it just at rank 1 to have the throwing arc, to see where my grenades go. But on this occasion, as I said, I wanted to increase perception and had to search for perks to use anyway. So yeah, I went with Fire in the Hole rank 3. And especially with something that has such a ridiculously high explosive radius, it's nice to really throw the explosives far away. And it's actually pretty crazy how far you can throw them with this perk at rank 3, which is a lot of fun in my opinion. And lastly, we do have Night Eyes. This was the one I was talking about. Between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. you get this night vision, it's called. It's basically just a visual filter that makes everything a little bit grayish, bluish whenever you're crouching in those times. So it doesn't really help in my experience with night vision, but it's just a visual clue that's a little bit of a tweak to the character, let's say it like that. But I think it works very well on this occasion, and it's a lot of fun to use. Then we go over to Endurance, and the one perk we want here is Fireproof. For obvious reasons, we are flinging very explosive explosives, high damage explosives around that often hit us ourselves, so Fireproof is a nice thing in combination with the dense chest piece. And I used Legendary Endurance to improve my endurance here, and having it maxed out meant I had 6 endurance, so I went with Adamantium Skeleton. Definitely not needed on this occasion. Recently had a discussion with one of you guys in the comments, by the way, about Adamantium Skeleton being a not so useful perk for the simple reason that Stimpaks are everywhere, so why bother not just healing your broken limbs with a Stimpak? For me, oftentimes using Adamantium Skeleton is less about sparing Stimpaks. It's more about not having to deal with the stagger animation that comes with crippling a limb and going through the animation of a Stimpak. So it's more of a convenience perk for sure. And yeah, On a sneak character though, it can actually be pretty useful because if you are getting crippled and staggered, there's a chance you get staggered out of your crouching position, so you stand up automatically, which then means that you're not hidden anymore. So yeah, it can help with that. But keep in mind that Adamantium Skeleton here is just here because I had maxed out Legendary Endurance and had to fill in the gap with something. Then we go over to Charisma, Tenderizer rank 3, not a lot to say here. I mean, it's Tenderizer, it's always good, and especially on this occasion with a fast-firing weapon. Just some extra damage, 10% multiplicative damage after you're hitting an enemy with a ranged weapon, not even that, with the weapon. So yeah, obviously that's useful. And then we are having intelligence here. It is maxed out at rank 15, and I have some unusual choices here. So the usual choice, batteries included, pretty straightforward. We're using energy ammo, so reducing the weight of it is nice to have. Not necessary on this occasion, especially nowadays with the ammo storage box, but yeah, still here. Then we do have Gunsmith, which I often use. I mean, obviously, if you're swimming in repair kits, you don't need this and can use it for something else. But yeah, for me, it's here to conveniently keep my gun running a little bit longer. And then the controversial bit, I do have Hacker here. Obviously, I could have just used one legendary perk slot in order to use Master Infiltrator, but when it comes to something like Hacker or Picklock, these kind of perks, in my opinion, can give the character a little bit more character. And yeah, I felt it was rather fitting for this infiltrator recon officer guy to be able to successfully hack terminals, which is a nice thing to have, and you don't always have to use a legendary perk for that. But yeah, that's the decision here, and I obviously wanted to have intelligence maxed out on this occasion because we were close anyways. And the compromise here came for, yeah, doing it like that. I only had 4 perk points left to use for Demo Expert. Retroactively, I would say I would prefer to probably use 4 ranks of Gunsmith and 5 ranks of Demo Expert, but ultimately it doesn't matter too much. The explosives are pretty powerful, and yeah. As I said, if I had to redo it, I would probably do 4 ranks of Gunsmith and 5 ranks of Demo Expert, but yeah, that's what we're ending up with here. And then probably the most interesting perk stat, when it comes to gunslingers or guerrillas is agility, obviously, especially if you want to do stealth along with it. Now, this is the big point where a lot of people discuss for ages now, that guerrilla and gunslinger perks should move over to perception. It would make so much more sense because agility has so many good perks, so whenever you're doing a guerrilla or gunslinger character, you have to do a lot of compromise. And on this occasion, I went with Covert Operative, Sneak, and Escape Artist. I often like to have these maxed out when it comes to a sneak character. A lot of people just rely on their stealth ability and their armor and go down with sneak. I don't like that. I like to have it maxed out in most situations, and that left us with rank 3 of Guerrilla and Expert Guerrilla, and rank 2 of Master Guerrilla in order to improve our damage. So yeah, obviously we don't have room for Adrenaline on this occasion. It would be nice to have Action Boy on here. So yeah, you're missing out on quite a lot of good perks whenever you're using Guerrilla or Gunslinger. And lastly, we have Luck here, 1 rank of Bloody Mass, because I wanted to have Luck maxed out and was left with 1 perk point, and whenever that's the case, 1 rank of Bloody Mass is nice to have, or 1 rank of Class Freak, but on this occasion I went with 1 rank of Bloody Mass, rank 3 of Class Freak to reduce our debuff from mutations, then Starch Genes to keep the mutations we do have and not get any new ones, and the combination of Grim Reaper Sprint, Critical Savvy, and Better Criticals. Pretty easy. Every now and then we do regain all of our action points after killing an enemy in VATS. Better Criticals syncs in very well with the Better Criticals effect on our weapon and with our Eagle Eyes mutation. And lastly, Critical Savvy means that with our setup here, we charge our critical meter within 2 shots. So every third shot you're doing in VATS is a critical. Next best step would be to go for every second shot, but that requires a pretty specific kind of character. So yeah, critical savvy it is. Maybe you could get better returns out of some 4-leaf clover or something, but I highly doubt it. For the most part, this is the safe way to go for it, and yeah. Now that is all being said, the only thing left is legendary perks, and on this occasion, very boring stuff. We just have 5 stats maxed out in order to give us more access to perk points, and agility is maxed out to begin with, so we just have 20 agility from the get-go in order to be more stealthy. And the only noteworthy thing here is follow through, but this is another perk that should be pretty obvious for a stealth character. We're obviously going to use follow through for extra 40% sneak damage after we, 40% damage after we attack an enemy in stealth with the ranged weapon, which is the case in our situation for most of the time. And yeah, as I said, getting that sneak hit in is enough. Like, even if then the the enemy detects you, for the next 10 seconds you still have that 40% multiplicative damage bonus. So yeah, that's kind of it. I heard a super mutant around here, but I think the fact that it didn't attack us now is enough, so we can relax and take a look at our thumbnail here in my really professional way. And yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and yeah, one more thing. Merry Christmas. Like, probably I'm going to upload the video tomorrow. It doesn't have any Christmas theme going on. I didn't really feel like it. There wasn't any character that struck me particularly, especially since I don't really have any aesthetics that worked for this year. But maybe I will upload the video today and upload another one tomorrow. We will see. However, if not, Merry Christmas to you all and see you next time. Bye.